I live in Columbus. I went to IU, go Hoosiers. I had to put that plug in. But for the sake of this meeting, go Big Ten. So, we can kind of elevate it and find just like some common ground. But I have what I just coined this phrase for him. It's Mr. Sleeper, because this individual, he has a list of accolades that kind of fly under the radar. When you mention the greats of the great running backs, I mean, his name comes up, right? But it needs to kind of, in my opinion, after looking at this, it needs to bubble to the top a little bit more. It needs to be in the conversations, in my opinion, of some of the great running backs. In particularly reading that this individual has the bull rushing record of 234 yards in one game. No one talks about that. So guess what? Fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to dive into the life of Mr. Raymont Harris. Now, this individual played 7 years professional football, played at The Ohio State University, finished with over 2,600 yards, sixth leading rusher at that time in OSU's history. As I mentioned, the accolades as setting the record for bowl games, and he was an all Big Ten in 1993, fourth round draft pick. He was so good that he played for multiple NFL teams. He played for the Bears, the Packers, the Broncos, the Patriots, and 2,500 yards there with several 16 rushing touchdowns. He led the Bears in rushing. 1996. You know what? I'm done. Okay,
there we go.
It's a lot here.
There it is.
Okay?
There
but
it is.
Listen. That's the stats. That's the professional. I want to talk about. I want to get behind the scenes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Mr. Raymont. Oh, stop. Let me back up for a second. Then he was so good, he even worked for Ohio State for 10 plus years as director of development, if I'm not mistaken. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's just roll out the red carpet and let's have a conversation with the person, Mr. Raymont Harris. Raymont, how you doing, sir?
Shawn, I'm doing really well, man. Thank you so much for that amazing intro. I forgot I did all of that stuff back in college and the league and all throughout my life. But having an opportunity, man, to sit here with you today, I'm very excited and I really appreciate it, for sure.
You know what? That's one of the things that I love about you, is that you don't carry your accolades. You don't walk around with hey, can't you see who I am? Don't you know what my pedigree or my resume is? There are athletes who kind of walk like that, unfortunately, even when the game is over, but you don't carry that. Because your energy is always fresh and new. Even when you're on the stage, I've seen some clips of you on the stage. I cannot wait to talk to you about that. But, I want to go back, though. I want to go back just past the cradle. And I want to talk and just give an audience a glimpse, the behind the scenes, who you are, basically where you're coming from, the comings and bringings and the struggles and the setbacks and the setups and the comebacks. So ready, set, go. Fill us in.
All right. Shawn, I'm from a small little steel city called Lorain, Ohio. And Lorain is 30 miles west of Cleveland. It's right on Lake Erie. It's the quintessential Rust Belt city, man. It's just like Lima. It's just like Youngstown. It's just like Dayton. It's just like Springfield. It's blue collar. It's hard work, and the people from those areas, we learn that it's all about work ethic. So, man, growing up in Lorain, it was tough, man. It was, and to be honest, man, I'm not sure that you know this or a lot of people know, but I was born on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas in 1970. And my mom died giving birth to me, and my family was destroyed. And my father, he was 33 years old. He lost his wife. He lost the love of his life, and he had to raise a 12-year-old son, a 9-year-old daughter, and an infant all by himself. And man, life was tough and it was difficult. And man, we grew up in the 70s, so we didn't have any grief counseling or professional therapy. We just put our heads down and did the best that we could. And life was tough, but it felt fair because it was about work. And my father was mean, and and abusive. Not until I got older did I realize it was really just because of sadness, because you've never healed. You grow up with those kind of circumstances, you realize that, and you only got this one person who turns into being like your hero and who you adore and you want to make really happy. So that turned into like the fuel for my life, was to make my father proud of me and who I was. Yeah, that was it, man. I didn't have a lot of softness because I didn't have a mom. I just had tough, hard, strong, stern. And, that thing, that kind of trauma tends to like stay with you all throughout your life, man. So I came from a really great place. I'm really happy in retrospect, but it was really difficult growing up, for sure.
So let me ask you a question, okay? Because I mean,
Sure.
that right there is a lot to unpack. First of all, being raised without your mom. Second of all, mom passing, giving birth. Was there any guilt? Did you feel that there was resentment in the air? I mean, how did you flow with that? How did you carry that? And if so, when did you make amends with that?
Hey man, yeah, thank you for that question. It's a great question. And to be honest, man, throughout my life, I would never talk about it. That's why it's so surprising to so many people that have known me for so long. Yeah, it was hard not to feel guilty and ashamed and different. And I learned early not to bring it up, because whenever you bring up, hey, what happened to my mom? Everyone starts crying. Everyone gets sad and disappointed, and it's all right around Christmas time. So there's no, there's no birthdays or any of that stuff. So it was really difficult, man, and especially as a someone who was like younger than like my siblings. It felt like I was always by myself. When you're by yourself, you tend to spend even more time thinking about these things. And not until I got older, not until I got a chance to go through therapy, did I really get a chance to lean in and understand like what happened and what my role was and was not. And the fact that creating something that was more of a framework to help me lean on, so I could make sure that I would never kind of go back to beating myself up, hating myself, wishing harm on myself because I didn't have my mom. Yeah, man, that was a huge thing and a huge journey to have to kind of deal with. Not until I would say probably in my 30s did I get comfortable enough to be able to really handle that.
So you just mentioned something that is borderline taboo, okay?
Mhm.
Especially for athletes. You mentioned, you just kind of glossed over it though, but I got that. You mentioned therapy.
Mhm.
And I kind of look at it like coach, What
Okay.
makes athletes, in my opinion, amazing is that almost every facet of our life, we have a coach. We got nutrition, we got training table, we got this, we got specialties, we got knee coach, we got we got coaches for coordinator, we got positions.
Mhm.
But you also mentioned that you had the humility to say, you know what, I need a coach for my mental. And I have a therapist. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, for sure. It's something that growing up as a black man in a small town. I
I
mean,
didn't
it
want to
just
go
wasn't
there.
something.
I didn't want to go
Yeah,
there.
go ahead. I would.
I'm
I'll do
glad
it.
you
I'll go
did.
there. Yeah,
Go for it.
this is black man. Like we there's really like no space for us to be sad
Yes,
or
yes,
to be
yes.
scared or afraid. So like you end up like just carrying this veneer that makes it seem like you got it under control, that you're
Right,
okay, that you're strong, but deep down and inside you're drowning. And
right.
it's a really difficult feeling to really be like the best person that you can be when you're actually trying to juggle like all of that. So like, yeah, that trauma and the idea of going to like a therapist, I think it really helped save my life as I've gotten older. Now I'd be very disingenuous, Shawn, if I made it seem like, well, you know what, man, I had this awakening and I decided I'm going to go to therapy and
Listen,
clear myself up.
listen. You would not be on this podcast
If I
if that
did,
was you, right? Yeah.
right. Well, so the truth is, yeah, man, my life really started to spiral after the league. And it's one of those things that people don't necessarily talk about, but the transition from having the league to not having the league was really difficult, not just for me, but for the majority of guys. I'm sure you can speak to it and you probably have your own stories. But like for having like a life where you are celebrated and you're important and you matter and people are paying attention to you and recognizing you, to then out of nowhere, just for it to be taken away from you. And then all of a sudden, you now have to find your way and make your way in the same exact world that was celebrating you a few years ago. But now they look at you as someone who is washed up. And that was really difficult. And unfortunately, the fact that we don't learn how to deal with our traumas early, we tend to seek out other ways. Sometimes it's drinking, it could be drugs, it could be being a promiscuity, any number of things. And I was no different than all of those. So I was married and I made decisions that did not resemble like really who I am and who I believe myself to be and who I had been showing up as. And ultimately, I was backed into a wall to get my life together or to lose it all. And yeah, man, that's exactly what happened. And that was really the impetus for going to therapy. Like I said, I wish I could have said that I just had an awakening to be able to go that far. But honestly, I was forced to do it. So happy that I did.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I love that. Yeah. That fall off from being, a star, collegiate athlete or professional athlete to just walking around in life it's a really tough adjustment. I remember I would hear former athletes like, well, it's not the same and this. And I'm like, man, these guys love me. Like, I would go up to the press box, and I would talk to the CEO of this company, the CEO of that company. And man, I was like, wow, they love us, right? They just, man, this is great. And then I opened my business. And the same CEO, I'm like, surely I should get a contract. You're like, no, it was all about what you did on that field. I'm like, whoa, that was a rude and a shrewd awakening. A lot of athletes go through that, but anyway, so
absolutely.
Yeah. So now here you are. Well, getting that letter of intent signed for the Ohio State University. I'm sure that people were excited in Lorraine, and I'm sure that Dad is excited. You had mentioned or alluded to earlier how you were like, hey, I really want to make my father happy and proud. Talk to me about that transition going to Ohio State, looking at the depth chart. If I'm not mistaken, you probably played with or next to, you were behind Carlos Snow, if I'm not mistaken. He was my roommate. Yeah. He was my roommate in the East-West Shrine game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So talk to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Shawn, it was, I was kind of unlikely to be a person that would actually make it to Ohio State. I didn't get a chance to start until midway through like my junior year, varsity. And then I broke my collarbone early on in my senior season. So I effectively started 7.5 games in high school. And that's from like a small, tiny school that is not used to like having like people go big time D1. So it was super unlikely. Like I tell my guys, Shawn, as you could imagine the film that I had as, for 7 games. I mean, I was out there doing it. If I may say myself. So getting to Ohio State, man, it was tricky because Columbus was nothing like Lorraine, and having a chance to kind of be on a team with a bunch of other guys that are just like you or better than you, and they come from all parts of the country. I was experiencing athletes from California, Texas, Florida, let alone like East Coast, like, New York and Chicago. And we all come in there at 18 years old, not necessarily knowing what's going on. And the pressure to actually perform and play and put up numbers, because if you don't, there's like 2 or 3 other guys right there ready to like take that spot. So my first year I got redshirted, didn't get a chance to play really because I got hurt in camp. And then my redshirt freshman year, I finally got a chance to get out there and play. Robert Smith was everything in the state of Ohio. So he came in as a freshman. And so there was a time where it was Robert Smith, Carlos Snow, myself, Butler Benote. We were all there together. And as you can imagine, man, it was really difficult to get on the field.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
I bet
sure.
it was. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but you did. And I love that. I love the fact that you had
Thank
to,
you.
and you did, you were able to persevere so much so that you were drafted in the fourth round. Now draft day hits. I don't know if you had like a draft party. I don't know what you were doing, but the phone call comes through. Talk to me about, hey, we're going to take you in this round. Who was there?
Oh my
Give me the
gosh.
emotion. Take me back to the day.
So I did not, I started my first 2 games as a freshman, and I didn't start a game anymore for my entire college career until my senior year. So yeah, like that's how up and down like my whole journey was collegiately. I was able to have like a great senior season. I got committed to like really just like being a better, not just a better person, but really just a better all around player. And it really showed on the field. So I put up like these big time numbers. It was all conference. Yeah, we were the top 10 team. Had 1,300 yards. You mentioned earlier I broke the record for the bowl game rushing with like 235 yards. Put myself in a position to be able to get drafted. The Chicago Bears were my favorite. One of my favorite teams because they had my favorite player of all time growing up was Walter Payton, and they drafted me in the 4th round, man. And going into it, I thought I was going to be going higher. I thought I was going to be like
We all do.
a second rounder.
We have you
like they
slated
told
at
me.
the 3rd pick in the 2nd round.
Right. Yeah. No, that was not necessarily the case at all. So since that did not happen, I was not someone who was confident enough to have like a big party. I mean, I was sitting in my college apartment, right? Me and me and that TV, just sitting there watching watching everybody go, everybody get picked. I ended up being I think it was the 16th or 18th running back taken. And my college fullback, Jeff Cothran, even went before me. He went in the 3rd round. So I remember being very excited, very happy to make it to the league, but I also had a huge chip on my shoulder because I wanted to show everybody that they made a mistake, let me go past. Yeah, yes, sir.
So now you're in camp. It's 94. Walter's not there no more.
No, Walter Payton is not there.
Yeah, so
I ain't
it's
that
like,
damn old. Yeah.
it's like,
Come on, Shawn. You got Dennis Gentry or something.
call me OG.
Yeah.
I'm just
Right,
saying.
yeah,
It's
that'd be
okay.
great if he
So
was.
bam, here
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Now you with the Bears, you with several other NFL teams, and it's like hats off to you because the average lifespan in the NFL is 2.8 years. And
Yeah.
I think you got more than that. So that's like fire. And it's time for you to step away from the game and you go back to Ohio State after that, or what happened?
Well, I told you earlier, man, like the transition was really difficult for me. I got a solid 6 years in. I played with 4 different teams. And the majority of it was with the Bears, though, for the first 4 years. I had a really big time injury for the ligaments in my ankle, and I also broke I broke my ankle and tore like the ligaments around it. Yeah. And I just was never like the same kind of running back. I wasn't the guy that could run dudes over as well as I could before. I was known for never getting stopped in the background or in the backfield. The guy that could make people miss like within like that tiny tackle area, and then also dragging people. Once I got toward the end of those last couple of years, I just wasn't able to do the same things. So the writing was on the wall. I ended up getting released by the New England Patriots my last year, and the transition out, it was really tough because, Shawn, I'm not sure how you feel about this, but man, there's a level of being delusional that it takes to come from like an environment where everyone says things like, you're going to need a plan B. Hey man, there's only like 1% of the people can make it and do this. And what are the chances of you actually doing it? Being able to kind of hear that, field it, and then push it to the side and keep going, because I truly thought deep down that I don't care like what they say and what they think. They haven't seen me yet. I'm the one that's going to actually do this. And to be honest, like the fuel wasn't from it didn't come from like the healthiest place. It came from the fuel of wanting to show my father that I was worthy of his love.
Wow. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And once I got older, once I got to a point, maybe 16, 17, 18, it then turned into F him, F that guy. I'm gonna do it
Yeah.
in spite of him. I'll show
Yeah.
him. Watch this. So that was my fuel, and it was great to be able to maybe get through playing, extra competitive like football at an elite level. But afterwards, yeah, well, like who are you then?
Yeah.
So I struggled. I didn't realize like who I would be. I always thought that there was so much more to me, but I realized so much of my identity was wrapped up in football, and it hurt and it felt sad, and people didn't notice me or care anymore, and I just didn't know like who I would be and what I would do. So I kind of bounced around. For 3 years, I did radio and TV broadcasting. For 4 years, I then did home mortgages for JP Morgan Chase. And then we had an economic downturn, and I decided, you know what, man, I don't care about this enough to kind of see it come back. I thought about what I really cared about, and that was football and sports and student athletes. And I went back to my alma mater, and they had something called development. And I was able to sign on to be a major gift development officer. And for 15 years, man, I was at my alma mater I raised millions of dollars to help with capital projects, endowments, scholarships, all student athletes and program support. I did all of that, and that felt so great. It was amazing. I loved it. It was something that became so much more of my identity and allowed me to really round out who I was as a person at Ohio State in those adult years.
Hold on for 1 second, because
Come on.
there is a dichotomy that you scratched the surface, and I really want to just open this wound up. Not that you have a wound, I just want to open this wound in general up. The
Okay.
dichotomy is I know what the facts say, I know what the stats say, but you can't carry that into the game. You can't carry the fact that 0.02% of any player makes it to the NFL for 1 year. You can't carry the stats of the facts. You can't of facts of injuries and coming back from certain injuries. And I know what people are saying, and it's like no, you have to have the grit and the faith to be delusional. And you have to go in there and say, I am going to be the best, period. End of
Yeah.
discussion until I see the best, and I'm going to see what he or she's doing, and I'm going to be better than him. And then at some point, though, you have to say, okay, I got to peel off that delusion, and now I have to hang this thing up. Now, the train doesn't slow down, the train stops, and your entire life, you were put on a particular track. Now, everything that was given to you have to develop on your own. So, training table, meals, prep, associations, networking. It's like I have to develop those muscles now as a former athlete. And kudos to Ohio State to say, hey, we're going to give you time, we're going to employ you, you're going to raise money, and you're going to learn, and you're going to network and to develop, so that when you're ready, now you're able to traverse, or you can move past that and enter the world as an even more complete person. So they gave you the years, you raised millions of dollars, man, that's fire. And then now you're like, I'm ready to jump the nest, jump the coop, and go back out there as a different individual, as a winner. Talk to me about that.
Shawn, I'm going to come to that, but there's one other thing about what you just got done saying that I'd like to address. That you are absolutely right, man. There's like this delusion that you have to be able to make it. And then at some point, that same delusion becomes a hindrance to moving on in your life, right? Because that's why guys hang around too long. That's why guys will then try and go to some arena league or the Canadian league and try to keep hanging on, even though the writing is on the wall. And here's the other thing. Here's to me, the most important part that people don't talk about. So many of us come from like backgrounds that have trauma, okay? And so many of us are not taught to deal with the trauma. So one of the ways that I and so many others dealt with our trauma was we're able to compartmentalize it. We take it and we push it right all the way to the back. And as long as I'm keeping myself busy with trying to lift as many weights as I can, with trying to be as fast as I can, and trying to do any and everything I can to be the starting running back on the team, I don't have to deal and address that old trauma. So that trauma just sits back there and doesn't deal with it. And I'm living out the life and I'm over here strong and people are celebrating me and they love me. And then it's gone. And when that distraction leaves, that trauma is still there. And then as soon as it gets quiet, that's when the trauma comes out. And so that was the reason and the impetus for me to truly have to say, you know what, I got to do some kind of therapy. I have to actually start addressing like this voice and these issues that I've had growing up. My inner child is screaming so loud now that it will not be ignored. So it sounded good and I appreciate you, but I wish it were that smooth. Like the school just gave me a chance and then I turned it around. Right. There was so many more ups and downs that came about from that. But the truth is, them giving me an opportunity, and I'm sure, I mean, I had the skills, I had the skill set, I had the sales ability, I had the charm, I had the ability to follow up, like all of these things that I was truly responsible for. They saw that in me. And I brought my skills to their, to Ohio State's athletic department, helped them raise so much money. And it was amazing until I would say probably 6, 7, 8, 9 years. You get a chance to kind of see behind the curtain and you realize, I love this. I'm from this. I am a product of this athletic department, but there's so much more of me and what I want to do.
Yeah.
That does not align with exactly like what their priorities are.
Most people, well, a lot of former athletes, they don't leave the game. So maybe it's really familiar to just go into coaching. Not knocking them, but it's really familiar to stay close to the game. But what I'm hearing you say is that there was an inner drive that said, you know what, you're not bigger than this, you're different than this. And the pressure on the inside became greater than the pressure on the outside. That you made a decision to say, you know what, I can be comfortable or I can win. And for me, winning is the fullest expression of who you are mentally, spiritually, socially, financially, and most importantly to me is legacy. It's like, you know what? I have to go because it's now calling and is pushing me to help thousands and thousands of people, not just raising funds, laughing, whatever, doing good this way. I got to do good another way. But let me just stop for a second because man, there's so much here. You talked about basically, you're like, you know what, there's trauma. I'll just use the word anger or hurt, okay? They say anger is not the first emotion. So let's just say that, there's hurt. If you don't deal with that, hurt and anger will always destroy the container that it's held in. It's a great fuel until the fuel runs out. And then now it begins to eat you. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like having an old nuclear reactor. I mean, the energy is endless. But after a while, the energy, that actual capsule starts to leak. And now the same energy that's used to like move outward is now turned against you. And it begins to leak and it begins to drip and it becomes toxic and it becomes dangerous and radiation. And now it's starting to infect and affect people around you. You did two things that I'm so proud of, man, is that number one, you said, okay, I'm going to attack what's attacking me. That's number one. And number two is I'm going to fly the coop. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, flying the coop is, that's one way to say it, of course. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. And I would probably say more like, you know what, I decided to invest in myself. That's what I did. I looked at like any and everything that was going on. And what I learned was I always thought I was like a really confident person, but I realized I really had imposter syndrome because I didn't think that people would invest in me without Ohio State University. They wouldn't invest in me without the NFL shield. Mm-hmm. So I questioned myself and I doubted myself. And not until I stepped into it and I believed in myself and I created like this framework that to this day, well, number one, has allowed me to write a book. That's amazing.
Where's it at? Also, show me the book, man.
Man, come on, man. Come on.
Show me the book.
Right on time. Here it is.
Yeah.
If I may tell you. my new
Talk to
book,
me about that.
Control the
Okay, stop,
Controllables.
stop, stop,
For
stop,
sure.
stop, stop.
Come on.
You create the segue. You take over, create the segue, and run with it right now. Go for it.
I got you. So with that, I created a framework. And it happened, what I did was I went back to my early days in Lorraine. And I identified like these 8 controllable things, because people would ask me, they hear like the beginning of my story and they say, damn, how the hell did you make it from Lorraine with those circumstances to levels of success that people can only dream of?
Right.
And I had to show them that it was things that I controlled. So I identified these 8 controllables that from my life, from Lorraine to this day right now. And I put them into 2 separate groups: mindset controls and performance controls. And it's the mindset controls are belief, positivity, commitment, and patience. The performance controls are consistency, adaptability, resilience, and effort. And it's my belief, if you put them all together, like you can realize like your wildest dreams. So I created the framework and I put it into, and I had become a professional speaker. And I've been traveling around the country, speaking about like this framework, code of controllables. And Shawn, it has gone so well for over the first, it's been a 3.5 years now, that I was able to just write a book, and it came out last week. And it's called Control the Controllables. And I'm so happy and proud to say that the book it's mine. It's me. And I wrote it the way that I wanted to write it. It's mine. So I wrote it in the way that I speak. So my thought was like, if someone is reading this book, they can imagine the words being spoken to me. I mean, so like that's who this is, and that's what this is, man. So for me, man, it has served as a memoir partially, but it's really a survival manual for how to make decisions and how to deal with pressure when life gets really tough. That's what this is.
Let me tell you how powerful that is. Okay. When we played football, they would, and I believe the guy who started it was Bill Walsh, if I'm not mistaken. They had scripting and everybody did it. So we knew what the first 10 or 14 plays were going to be.
Sure.
This is a list of the first 14 or 15 plays. And you ran dive right, play action pass, right? So what we were doing, kind of what you're doing is, I'm going to control my environment in a way that it is really deep. It's almost metaphysical. I'm going to control my environment in a way that my energy and what I control over time will dictate your response. It will dictate to the atmosphere what I'm willing to stand for, what I'm willing to do, what I'm willing to control, and the power over in which I can control it, to the point now that because I'm running these plays and I'm forcing the defense to respond to me, I'm never allowing you to come back on offense again, because now I'm dictating to you what I'm going to do. I'm putting the world on defense. I'm on offense, and I will keep scoring by controlling what I can control.
Yes, I love that, Shawn. That's a great way to put it, and that's a great parallel for for our sports world in football. Guys, like for like an entire week, I mean, the smartest and brightest minds, they collab and they come up with. We watch hours and hours and hours of film to figure out like all the intricacies and details of like what is going to happen on defense. And we figure out like, what their tendencies are and who's the strongest ones. And we come up with like this incredible game plan to be able to attack on Sunday, because we write all 15 of those plays down and they run it by no matter what. And that's kind of like what this is. It's a survival manual. It's something to be able to look at and think about and refer to when it comes time to really start thinking about like making some decisions, especially when like the noise is really loud, especially when you're not feeling your best, because these controllables are going to slip, and there are different ways, and you can like truly tap into them to be able to get any and everything it is you want. But sometimes, it's one thing to say, hey, this belief is important, but to actually define it, to help someone understand it, to help somebody cultivate it, to help someone deal with any of issues and overcoming any challenges with that actual thing, and then showing them an actual success story that shows them a parallel for their life, I think it all makes it seem like even more important and more
Yeah.
attainable and reachable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that way, like where you can, like, the book has been designed, man, where you can do just every single, all 8 controllables, or you can do just 3 different ones, because
Yeah.
they're all independent, but it's kind of like Voltron or the Wu-Tang Clan. They're all individual, but you take them and form them all together, and then you got like the best group ever. So like that's what the controllables is, man. It's Wu-Tang.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And this is why I love it so much, especially in corporate America. It's because there's so many things in 2025 and 26 that is no longer in our control. And we're like feeling so discombobulated, we're trying to move and worried about what's happening here, what's happening there. If we have something that we can control, that we can master, it serves as a reference point in our life. It's like, you know what? I now have an actual reference point. At least I know that this is done, and this right here can be my gyroscope. This can create balance. This can give fulfillment. This can give esteem. And I can run this play. This play right here, out of the 15 plays that we ran, they can't stop the off tackle run. Saw that. Now, guess what? We know, right? 34 dive is it. We're going to smash them with it. Now
Right.
the defense is scared. Man, that is so powerful. So listen, we got to wrap, man. God, whew, powerful. I just
John, before we wrap, real quick, if you don't mind, just really fast.
come on.
On top of that, I think you make a really good point, man. When you think about corporate America, when you think about like the educational world, and you just talk about life that outside of like sports, like these controllables are. They transcend age, race, socioeconomic background, gender. These controllables are things that anyone can tap into. So like that's why it's so important to me. It's not just for athletes. It's not just for corporate decision makers. It's for everyone.
It's for life.
Yes,
Life
sir.
be lifing.
It do. Yeah, it sure does.
It's life be lifing. So now,
Life stay like that.
so let's have a way back moment, okay? If you can go back to any challenging part of your life and have a conversation from 2026 perspective, give me the year or age, give me the advice that you would give yourself.
All right, man. When I was 45 years old, 10 years ago, I was married for 24 years, and we got divorced. So we got separated, and I didn't have a place to live. So I lived in my buddy's basement, and I would listen to his family upstairs running around, having a good time, the dog barking, the kids all happy. And I was in the basement on the floor, like on an air mattress. And that's where I started to contemplate, man, like how far I've fallen and how my life has collapsed all around itself. The advice I would have given myself is, you got this. The things that you have done all throughout your life, the things that you have tapped into, this commitment to yourself, the being resilient, the understanding that like if something didn't work out, sometimes you have to adapt. You have to switch it up and go a different direction and put more energy and effort into it that way. And really focus in on like what your weaknesses are instead of like really always catering to like the things that you're so good at. If you can do these things, and get yourself from Lorain, Ohio, and defy the most craziest odds, you can use these same things right here to get your life back in order. That would have been the advice I would have given myself then. And you know what? It would have helped me just as much as I'm helping so many other people right now.
Wow.
It still helps me to this day.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Well, now you've just elevated yourself among the greats at Ohio State, my book, and I hope so in others. If someone needs to get in contact with you, reach out, or get a hold of your book, what do they do?
Well, if you want to get the book, there are multiple ways. Obviously, you can always go to my website, www.raymontharris.com. That's RAYMONT Harris.com. My book is available in all over the place, man. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart. You find it wherever. Here's the great thing. I checked the numbers earlier. The number one new release football biographies is guess who, Shawn? Take a
Who?
wild guess. Yeah, it's your boy right now. Yeah, number one.
I love it. I love it.
So yeah, so you can find it anywhere. It's Control the Controllables. It will be something that can absolutely help you in managing like your life, um, really managing like your mindset and dealing with pressure and how powerful like control is. That's what control is.
Wow, that is powerful. And I'm gonna add something here. I could see a lot, man. I could see a lot of parents, and particularly mothers, getting this for their sons and daughters in school as they transition either out of high school or college, especially sports. I could see that.
For
I
sure.
can see that
Absolutely.
because they have to develop that muscle on their own. Yeah.
I agree, man.
Hey, Raymont, it's been a blessing, man. Thank you so
Shawn,
much.
thank you.
Keep
Thank you,
winning.
brother.
Hang on afterwards, and it's done. All right.
For sure. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the time, man.